Hey guys, what's up? Here's Kabuskin, and today I'm going to start a brand new series, and it's going to be called Anime 101. And what this has to do with is it's just going to be teaching those who don't know much about anime about simple traits, aspects, and some other cool things that I find out along the way of my learning about anime, which I do watch a lot of. I wouldn't say I know as much as like the Anime Man, which, I mean, his name isn't the Anime Man, so not really easy to compete with that. Today, I'm going to be going over a type of dere, and those of you who know of deres, which is just different types of characters that are used in a lot of animes, and this is one that's not really known of, which, I mean, you probably do know of some characters, which I'm going to go over examples in this video. The type of dere I'm going over today, though, is going to be the Mayadere, which what a Mayadere is a character who throughout the series starts off as an antagonist, but either becomes in love with the protagonist or befriends the antagonist, causing them to switch sides of the like goods and evils, and then they become on the good side. An anime that really does show a very good character for a Mayadere would be Dragon Ball Z, and the main character that would become from this would be Vegeta. And where I get at from this is his whole relationship with Goku. I mean, at first, he, as he calls him, Kakarot, he has a sort of hate for him in the whole sense of trying to prove himself to be better than Goku so that he can prove he's the strongest Saiyan in the world. As he gets to Earth, things get a little complicated. He gets defeated by the Z Fighters, which they're not yet known for at this point, but I will call them the Z Fighters because that's what everybody knows them as. But as he gets defeated by them, he's forced to retreat, and by the second time he comes back, that's when Frieza shows up, which is kind of an interference before Vegeta, because Vegeta has a past with Frieza, and not only is he there to defeat Goku, he now has to defeat Frieza, which in order to defeat Goku, he needs to deal with Frieza first, because Frieza seems to be a bigger threat in his eyes. The whole group trying to fight Frieza, it causes Vegeta to become part of the team. So they kind of start developing a relationship which further strengthens itself later on during the whole Cell saga, which, as you can see, is Vegeta slowly becoming friends with these people, and then he slowly tries not to fight Goku anymore. Yes, he still holds the whole "I'll defeat you, Kakarot" thing, but he doesn't get as much of a whole hatred out of it. Another character of Dragon Ball Z would be Android 18 in a sense. Now, it's mainly because when Android 18, Android 17, and Android 16 all show up, they're there to kill Goku because Dr. Gero is the one who sent them there for that ideal purpose. Android 18 is the only one who survives out of all three of these androids, which she is the one that is given the opportunity to become friends with the Z Fighters, and the main one is Krillin, after being a creepy little pervert and stalking her a lot during the initial part where he thought she was just super hot. It's just Krillin, he's a little pervert. But Android 18 and Krillin have a developed relationship, which then causes Android 18, especially since she was rescued by the Z Fighters, to become friends and almost kind of, I don't know if they get married, but I do remember they're like boyfriend-girlfriend almost in a sense. Another anime would be Kill la Kill. And the main character in this one that would be considered a Mayadere would be Satsuki Kiryuin. From the very beginning of the series all the way till the end, they're considered, as you could say, mortal enemies because it's just protagonist, antagonist. Up until about 3/4 way, which, spoiler alerts for those who haven't watched the anime, which, I mean, you're already watching a video that I'm giving examples, so you kind of need to think this. But anyway, she is hated all the way up until 3/4 throughout the whole entire series, which is when Satsuki Kiryuin completely flips the plot, becomes a good guy, and stabs her own mother, who's the actual antagonist in this whole entire thing, and it just completely just destroys the whole plot line that you thought was there. And she becomes a good guy, which then later on starts to become friends with Ryuko when they find out they're sisters. Another spoiler alert. And then this is the whole entire thing of where she flips sides and becomes part of the protagonist's side. The Elite Four also, within the whole sense of being commanded by Satsuki, and also when they flip sides, they stay there, such as Jakazure, I think I'm saying her name right, she's the little band geek. There's Gamagori, who's the leader of the disciplinary squad. There's Sanagayama, who was the he was the kendo club leader, but he was in charge of the whole entire athletics group. And then there's Inumuta, which I think I'm saying his name wrong, but he's the tech geek. Another anime would be Fullmetal Alchemist, and you can say the same for Brotherhood, which was the other revamp of the original series. The characters from this, I would say, would be Scar, especially in the sense that when the Elric brothers become enemies of the state, and they find themselves no longer being hunted by Scar, and they're kind of in the same position as him because he's no longer trying to kill them, but they're all being attacked by the military. And they become kind of forced to team up with Scar, and until the end of the whole entire series, then they're friends, and well, not really friends, but they're teamed up. A character also in Fullmetal Alchemist would be Barry the Chopper, because when he at first is fighting Alphonse and he escapes, later on Colonel Roy Mustang's squad finds him and kind of forces him in to be good on their side. Not necessarily good for the whole entire community, but mainly help them. That happens to make him team up with the Elric brothers, since Roy Mustang's also with the Elric brothers. Greed would be another character, but not so much in the first time of his rebellion against Father, because at first he's just not really helping the protagonist. He just doesn't really care to fight them anymore after their first encounter. After he gets defeated and destroyed and broken down as the Philosopher's Stone that was in him by Father, and then reanimated with Ling, that's when he kind of slowly develops his relationship to where he becomes good and starts helping out Edward and Alphonse. What happens is Edward kind of slowly breaks into the mind of Greed and awakens Ling's mind, which they kind of merge, and then that's when they become allies, and that kind of creates the whole Mayadere, where they become helpers of the protagonist. You could say that envy would also be another example of a Mayadere, but not so much, because it's really short-lived, since the whole entire thing that this is based off of is when they're trapped inside the bottomless pit of Gluttony's stomach, and they're kind of forced to help each other out, because Edward's the only one that can use alchemy, because Envy is a homunculus, and Envy just really wants any way to get out of there. So they shortly lived ally experience between the two. So if you want, you could consider a Mayadere example of Envy, or you could not. It doesn't really matter either way. You can think of that way. It's kind of an example. Another example would be in the anime film Summer Wars, which I loved this movie, but the only character I can really think of in this one that would be a example would be Wabisuke, which is the illegitimate child of the family who actually got a lot of money, ran off with it to America, and he's actually the one who creates Love Machine. Really weird name. But he's the one who created it, and he comes back to the family, which everybody hates him for the whole reason of him running off from the family with all the money. But then slowly towards the end, he ends up changing his personality, actually being nice to the family because of the grandmother's passing away, and then he slowly starts helping defeat Love Machine, the creation that he made himself. And my last example would be Bleach, which, yes, very known anime, and where I get at from this is when Ichigo becomes a Soul Reaper. He's really just friends with Rukia, who's also a Soul Reaper, but when she gets captured and brought back to the Soul Society, he's got to be pitted against the whole entire Soul Society. But then slowly, as he proves himself through all these things, he has to become friends with the Soul Society, and they finally recognize him as a substitute Soul Reaper, which initially the only character that would fit the Mayadere would be Renji, because they both have a very, it's not really long past, but a known past of just hating each other from encounters and the whole deal with Rukia and Renji being past friends. Renji hates Ichigo. It just kind of builds up and becomes a Mayadere relationship, which Renji and Ichigo then become later on, if you could say, best friends. And then in a whole sense, the whole Soul Society then later on becomes Ichigo's side, and it just kind of creates a whole thing of being a Mayadere relationship between each and every one of them. Also in the series, you could consider the other Vizards that later on help out Ichigo, because they were initially bad. It wasn't really stated that they were bad, but they gave off the vibe of being bad, which Ichigo was pitted against them at some points. But as they went on, they ended up being on the same side, and they ended up helping out towards the end. So there you guys have it. There's all my examples for Mayadere. It was of more mainstream animes, but as I said, this is Anime 101. It's basic knowledge for those who are just slowly watching anime and want to know more about it. That's going to go ahead and end this episode. For any other episodes later on, just go ahead and help me think of ideas I can do. I do see myself doing more Dere episodes and giving you guys different examples. You can leave a like below, you can comment down below what you think, and also, as I said, give me more ideas of what I can do later on in Anime 101. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe and recommend me to your friends. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Damn. Yeah. Uh.